Students, today we're going to talk about something truly powerful. The story of how America became one of the most powerful countries in the world. It's a journey filled with hope, struggle, dreams, and determination. So sit back, stay curious, and make sure you watch this video till the very end, because every part of this story matters. Chapter 1. The Land of Hopes and Dreams. A very long time ago, before there were cars or planes, before big cities and busy streets, there was a quiet land. This land was filled with forests, rivers, animals, and sky as wide as forever. Native Americans lived here. They cared for the land, the animals, and each other. They told stories under the stars and danced with joy around fires. Then one day, strangers came across the ocean. These people came from places far away, places like England, Spain, and France. Some of them were looking for treasure. Some were looking for new homes. Some were just looking for hope. The journey across the sea was hard. The waves were high. The nights were cold. Many people got sick, but they kept going. Why? Because in their hearts they believed that maybe, just maybe, they could build a better life in this new land. When they finally reached the shores of this quiet land, they were tired. Their clothes were torn. Their hands were shaking, but their eyes were full of dreams. They began to build. Small houses made of wood, farms with corn and wheat. Families grew. Villages turned into towns. It wasn't easy. Winters were cold. Summers were dry. But they helped each other. They shared food. They built schools. They prayed for peace. This was the beginning of something big. A seed was planted. The seed of a country that would one day be called the United States of America. But before it could grow strong, there would be many storms, hard times, sad times, brave times, and through it all, the people would hold on to one thing: hope. Out of your Chapter 2, Breaking Free from the King. America was still young. It was like a child trying to find its own way. But it had a problem, a big one. The King of England ruled over the people in America. He lived across the ocean, far away. But he made rules for them. He made them pay taxes. He took their money and didn't ask what they wanted. People in America said, "This isn't fair." They wanted to choose their own leaders. They wanted freedom. So in the 1775, they went to war. This war was called the Revolutionary War. It was hard. It was long. Fathers left their homes. Sons became soldiers. Families waited and prayed. And finally, in 1783, America won. The people were free. They wrote a special paper called the Declaration of Independence. It said everyone had rights, like life, liberty, and the chance to be happy. America was now its own country, still small, still young, but free. Chapter 3. A Nation Grows. West, after winning freedom, the people of America began to dream even bigger. The land they had was wide, but their hearts wanted more. They looked west, toward the mountains and the unknown. With hope in their eyes and courage in their hearts, they packed their wagons and set out. They crossed rivers and forests. They climbed over tall mountains. Families walked for days, weeks, even months. They faced wild animals, storms, and sickness. But they believed they were building a better future. A new life filled with land, food, and freedom. In 1803, something big happened. President Thomas Jefferson made a deal with France. It was called the Louisiana Purchase. With one deal, the size of the United States doubled. This meant more land for farmers, more places for homes, and more dreams to chase. Brave explorers like Lewis and Clark were sent to map the new land. They met Native American tribes. Some helped them, some were afraid. The land was rich and beautiful, full of animals, rivers, and towering mountains. But this growth brought sadness too. As settlers moved west, Native Americans lost their homes. Battles were fought, families were torn apart. It was a painful part of the country's story, one that we must always remember with respect and heart. Still, America grew. Cities popped up along rivers. Trains were built to cross the country. Gold was found in California. People rushed to dig, to mine, to get rich. Some did. Most just worked hard. America was becoming more than a place. It was becoming a symbol, of dreams, courage, and the power to start again. The road was rough, the journey was long, but with each step west, America became stronger. It was no longer just a group of states, it was becoming a nation, built by hope, by sweat, and by every child, mother, and father who dared to believe. Chapter 4. The War That Changed Everything. But not everything was good in America. A great sadness was growing, something that hurt hearts and divided families. It was about slavery. In the southern states, many people owned slaves. These were men, women, and children, mostly from Africa, who were taken from their homes, sold, and forced to work without pay. They could not leave. They could not choose. They were treated as property, not people. But in the North, people began to say, "This is wrong." Voices rose, speeches were given, books were written. One book called Uncle Tom's Cabin made people cry and think. People started to stand up and say, slavery must end. The Southern states didn't agree. They wanted to keep their way of life. So when Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860, a man who wanted to stop slavery from spreading, many Southern states got angry. They decided to leave the United States. They formed their own group, called the Confederacy. And so began the Civil War. Brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, North against South. It was the bloodiest war America had ever seen. It lasted 4 long years. From 1861 to 1865, towns were destroyed, fields burned, soldiers marched, fought, and fell. Over 600,000 people died, but in the end, the North won. Slavery was ended. President Lincoln gave a speech, the Gettysburg Address, that reminded everyone why they had fought. He said, "All men are created equal." Lincoln's heart was kind, but just days after the war ended, he was shot and killed. The nation wept. But from the pain, something stronger grew. The country stayed together. Black Americans were free, though their road would still be hard. The Civil War changed America forever. It taught the people that freedom is worth fighting for. It reminded them that no matter how different they are still one nation, under one flag, with one dream, liberty and justice for all. Chapter 5. Machines, Steel, and the Rise of Big Cities. After the Civil War ended, America stood at a crossroads. The wounds were still fresh, but the dreams were still alive. People wanted to rebuild their lives and make the country stronger. And slowly, something amazing began to happen. A great transformation, powered by ideas, invention, and iron. This period is known as the Industrial Revolution, a time when machines and factories started changing everything. Men, women, and even children went to work in big, noisy buildings. These factories made clothes, tools, furniture, trains, and steel. Before this, most people lived on farms and used their hands to work the land. But now they began moving to cities. There they could work jobs that paid money. Not much, but enough to hope. Skyscrapers rose like giants, made from strong steel beams. Smoke filled the skies, and the sounds of hammering, steam whistles, and footsteps echoed through the streets. People came to the cities with dreams in their pockets and courage in their hearts. Immigrants arrived from across the oceans. Italy, Germany, Ireland, Russia, China. They spoke different languages and wore different clothes. Some had never seen such tall buildings or bright lights. At Ellis Island, near the Statue of Liberty, their names were written down. Doctors checked them. They looked up at the lady with the torch and whispered thanks. She welcomed them with open arms, and so did the streets of America. Streets filled with hope, struggle, and promise. Inventions lit up the world. Thomas Edison gave us light bulbs, and Alexander Graham Bell gave us the telephone. Henry Ford built the first cars that everyday families could afford. Trains chugged across the country, carrying people and goods farther and faster than ever before. But the factories were not perfect. People worked long hours for little pay. Children had to work too, sometimes in dangerous places. The air was dirty. The work was hard. But slowly, people began to speak up. Workers formed labor unions, groups of people who stood together and asked for fair treatment, safer places, and better pay. They marched. They protested. They didn't give up. And slowly, things started to change. Women, too, began to raise their voices. They said, We want to vote. We want to learn. We want a chance. Brave women like Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton led the fight for women's rights. They held signs. They gave speeches. They believed in a better future. By the late 1800s, America was no longer just a country of farmers. It was a country of workers, builders, thinkers, and dreamers. It was a place of trains and telegraphs, of typewriters and sewing machines, of new hopes and growing cities. The land of small villages had become a land of factories and steel bridges. The quiet fields now echoed with the sound of progress. America was rising, and the world was watching. Chapter 6: War, Peace, and America's Brave Heart. As the 1900s began, America was strong, but the world was not. Far across the ocean, dark clouds were gathering. Countries were fighting. Flags waved. Cannons roared. And soon the world was at war. This was called World War I, and it started in 1914. At first, America stayed out of it. It's not our fight, many people said. But when innocent people were hurt and ships were sunk, America could no longer stay silent. In 1917, American soldiers, young and brave, sailed across the sea to help. They marched through muddy trenches. They faced danger and fear, but they didn't give up. They believed in protecting peace and helping friends. By 1918, the war was over and the world began to heal. America came home proud of its soldiers, proud of its heart. But peace didn't last long. Just 20 years later, a second and even bigger war began, World War II. A man named Adolf Hitler rose to power in Germany. He hated many people, especially Jews. He sent millions to camps where they were treated terribly, even killed. It was one of the saddest, darkest times in history. Again, America waited. But when Japan attacked a place called Pearl Harbor in Hawaii in 1941, America joined the fight. This time, even more soldiers left home. Men and women worked day and night in factories, building planes, tanks, and ships. People planted gardens, shared food, and prayed for peace. The war lasted until 1945. It ended when the world stood up against hate and said, "Never again." But it came at a cost. Many lives were lost. Cities were destroyed. And two bombs, the most powerful the world had ever seen, were dropped on Japan. The world was left shocked, grieving, and forever changed. Still, from the pain, America found purpose. Soldiers came home to hugs and tears. The country helped rebuild broken nations. They gave food, care, and hope to those in need. America was not perfect, but it tried to be kind. It tried to lead with courage. And in those years, the world saw something new. America wasn't just strong with weapons. It was strong with heart. A country of helpers, a nation of protectors, a land that believed in freedom, not just for itself, but for the whole world. And so, from the ashes of war, a new dream began. A dream of peace, of friendship, of a world where no child had to cry from fear. America was ready to rise higher, not just with power, but with purpose. Chapter 7: The Cold War. A new kind of battle. When World War II ended, the world sighed in relief, but peace didn't last long. There was a new kind of war. A war without guns, but still full of fear. It was called the Cold War. This wasn't a battle between armies. It was a battle of ideas. On one side was America, who believed in freedom, voting, and dreams. On the other side was a country called the Soviet Union, who believed in control, strict rules, and silence. America wanted people to speak freely. The Soviet Union wanted people to obey without question. The two sides didn't trust each other. They both wanted to be the most powerful nation in the world. This war was cold because no one dropped bombs or invaded cities, but the fear was real. Both countries built more and more nuclear weapons, just in case the other attacked. People lived with worry in their hearts. What if the world ended in fire? Instead of fighting, the Cold War was full of spies, secret missions, and space races. America wanted to show it was the best in science, technology, and strength, without starting a real war. So America focused on growing smarter and faster. Schools improved. Scientists worked hard. And then one day, something amazing happened. America went to the moon. In 1969, a man named Neil Armstrong stepped onto the moon and said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." The world watched in awe. America had done something no one else had done. It didn't use bombs or war to win. It used courage, brains, and hope. Still, the Cold War continued. There were moments of danger, like the time when missiles were pointed at America from Cuba. People were scared, but brave leaders talked, listened, and found peace again. At the same time, America also had problems at home. Not everyone was treated fairly. Black Americans were not given the same rights as others, but people stood up and marched. A brave man named Martin Luther King Jr. gave a powerful speech. "I have a dream." America began to change, slowly but surely. The dream of freedom was becoming real for more people. By the late 1980s, something big happened. The Soviet Union grew weaker. People wanted freedom, just like in America. In 1991, the Cold War ended. America had stayed strong, not with violence, but with belief, with vision, and with love for liberty. Now the world looked at America not just as a winner, but as a leader. The journey wasn't over, but America had shown something important. You don't always need to fight with fists. Sometimes the greatest power is hope, courage, and doing what's right. Chapter 8, The Digital Age and a New America. After the Cold War, a new time began. The 1990s and early 2000s brought something powerful, something invisible, something that would change the world forever: the internet. People started using computers, not just in schools or offices, but in their homes. Big boxes with glowing screens became windows to the world. America was the heart of this new digital dream. Companies like Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Amazon were born in America. They didn't build tanks or planes. They built software, websites, and ways to connect people. The world could now talk, learn, and share ideas in seconds. America became a leader not just on land or sea, but in the world of information. Teenagers could write songs, moms could start businesses, and kids could learn from anywhere. But there were challenges too. In 2001, something terrible happened. 4 planes were hijacked by terrorists. 2 crashed into the Twin Towers in New York City. Another hit the Pentagon, and the last crashed in a field. Thousands of innocent people died. The whole world cried. America was hurt, but it stood up. People helped strangers. Firefighters and police became heroes. The nation came together like one big family. President George W. Bush spoke with strength. "We will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail." After that day, America focused on protecting itself and others from terror. New rules were made. Airports became stricter. Soldiers were sent overseas. It was a hard time, but also a time of courage. Still, America kept growing. Technology moved faster. Phones became smart. People connected on social media. Young people dreamed of being creators, inventors, and leaders. And slowly, the world started looking more and more like one big neighborhood. America's music, movies, and ideas reached every corner of Earth. People danced to American songs, watched American films, and wore clothes that came from American fashion. But America also listened. It welcomed new voices, cultures, and dreams. People from many lands came to live there. They brought their food, their faith, their stories, and made the country even richer. Yes, there were arguments. There were protests and problems. But at its heart, America kept trying to do better. It kept learning. It kept dreaming. And through computers, satellites, and science, America became more than a country. It became a light in the digital world. Not because it was perfect, but because it kept trying to be fair, trying to be free, trying to be strong, with kindness. And so, the story of America moved forward, not with a roar, but with a hum, the sound of billions of keys typing, of children learning, of people building a brighter tomorrow. Chapter 9, Crises, Change, and Courage. As the 2010s began, America stood tall, but not without troubles. New problems came, some big, some small, but each one shaped the nation in a new way. One big challenge was the Great Recession, which started just before 2010. Many people lost their jobs, families lost their homes, banks failed. It felt like a storm had hit the country's heart, but slowly, with help and hard work, America stood back up. Then came a moment of hope. In 2008, Barack Obama became the first black president of the United States. He spoke about unity, change, and hope. Children of all colors looked up and believed that anything was possible. In these years, America worked hard to fix the economy, protect health care, and care for its people. But not everyone agreed on how to do it. Politics became louder. People started shouting instead of listening. But even in the noise, many kept trying to build bridges. Then in 2020, the world stopped. A virus called COVID-19 spread everywhere. Schools closed, streets emptied, people wore masks and stayed inside. It was a scary time. Many got sick, many died, but heroes rose once again. Doctors, nurses, delivery workers, teachers. They worked day and night, saving lives and giving hope. America struggled, but it also showed its strength. Scientists made vaccines faster than ever. People helped neighbors. They sang from windows, sent food to strangers, and clapped for health workers. The country hurt, but it healed, little by little. At the same time, America faced another truth. Racism and unfair treatment still existed. When a man named George Floyd died, millions of people stood up. They marched in streets. They held signs that said, "Black Lives Matter." They asked for justice, for change, for kindness. The world watched as America wrestled with its past and tried to shape a better future. People of all races, ages, and voices came together. They cried. They listened. They dreamed of a country where everyone felt safe and free. Through all the pain and protests, America remembered its promise, liberty and justice for all. And though that promise wasn't perfect, it still burned bright in the hearts of many. By the end of the decade, America had changed again. It had grown through hardship. It had fallen, risen, and learned. And once more, it proved something powerful. Strength doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from rising, even when it's hard. With each challenge, America wrote a new chapter, one of resilience, of courage, and of never giving up. The story wasn't over, because even in the darkest nights, America kept its light, the light of hope, of freedom, and of the brave. Chapter 10, The Future and the Flame. America had been through so much, wars and peace, crises and healing, joy and heartbreak. Every chapter added something to the country's spirit, something strong, something bright. Now as the 2000s moved forward, a new question echoed across the land. What kind of country will America be tomorrow? Children with dreams bigger than the sky sat in classrooms. Some wanted to build rockets, others wanted to cure sickness. Some wanted to write books or protect animals. They were America's future, bold, curious, and full of heart. Technology raced ahead. Cars drove themselves. Computers could think. People talked to machines, and machines talked back. But even in all the gadgets and glowing screens, America knew something deeper was needed: kindness, fairness, and love. The country faced more challenges. Climate change brought fires, floods, and rising seas. People disagreed on how to fix things. But young voices stood up, loud and brave, in saying, "We must protect the earth." And slowly leaders listened. At the same time, people worked to fix old wrongs. They wanted schools to be better, jobs to be fair, and neighborhoods to be safe for everyone, no matter where they came from or who they were. And through it all, America kept learning that being powerful isn't just about money or machines. True power is helping others, standing up for what's right, and never giving up. Even when things are hard, the world still looked to America. Not because it was perfect, but because it dared to dream. It dared to believe in freedom, equality, and the power of the people. New leaders rose. New heroes were born, not just in politics, but in classrooms, hospitals, homes, and streets. Grandmothers who marched for change. Teenagers who built apps to help others. Dads who hugged their kids and taught them to be kind. And through their courage, the flame of America burned brighter. Not a flame of war, but a flame of hope. Not a flame of fear, but a flame of freedom. And this flame, passed from hand to hand, heart to heart, would keep shining in every little act of good, in every smile, in every voice that said, "We can do better." The story of how America became powerful wasn't just about presidents or battles. It was about people, regular people, just like you, who stood tall and believed in fairness, believed in love, believed in a tomorrow that could be brighter. And that story, the story of America, is still being written by every child who dreams, by every person who hopes, by every hand that reaches out to help. Because power is not just what you hold, it's what you give. And the most powerful thing of all is the belief that the best is still ahead. If you enjoyed this story, we'd be truly grateful for your support. Like the video if it touched your heart. Subscribe to the channel and become part of our growing family. Tap the bell icon so you never miss a story that inspires. Download your free PDF of this full story. Link in description. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being part of this journey.